Hello and welcome to today's KDP University's At Home with Mandy M. Roth. I'm Trisha, and for the past 5 years, I've moved around Amazon's books teams, learning the business so I can share it with authors. But we're here to talk to Mandy. Mandy is a New York Times and USA Today best-selling author who loves 80s music and movies, well, who doesn't, and wishes leg warmers would come back into fashion. Okay, I don't agree with that one. When she isn't dancing around the office, she keeps busy writing paranormal operatives and kick butt fantasy heroines. She has sold over 1 million books in between traditional and indie publishing, which she says gives her the freedom to write in whatever genre interests her at any given moment. Mandy lives in Oxford, Mississippi with her husband and 3 boys. Welcome, Mandy.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. And yourself?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited.
I'm excited to be here
Good.
and nervous. I'm really nervous up front. So
Oh, no. Nothing to be nervous about, just a conversation between friends. How's that?
Perfect.
All right. So to get started, I always like to just kind of get a little background information, find out how you decided that being an author was your calling.
Funny enough, I didn't grow up with the writing bug, and I didn't have that hit me until a little bit later. I say a little bit later, but it was in my 20s. Now that I'm in my mid 40s, I mean, that's still a baby to me. But I was working in marketing. And at the time, I was writing these write-ups for veggies and fruits and that, and for like top chefs around the world. And I had someone visit from a culinary institute over in France, a big one, and he mentioned that my write-ups were very sensual and very, very alluring. And I'm like, it was about, microgreens. So, and then I started noticing some other people were saying that too. And I'm like, do I have like a thing? And then it just kind of, it sort of happened organically from there. And it built, and I thought, well, if they keep saying this, I'll just give it a try. And foolishly back then, I thought, how hard can it be? Yeah, but this was back in maybe 2000-ish. Yeah.
Any second thoughts?
No, but I, to this day, still have a lot of imposter syndrome, and I know that a lot of authors suffer from that. So when somebody's like, "Oh, there's an author," I'm like, where's the author? Still to this day, in my root, I feel like I'm just marketing, and yeah, I feel like somebody's going to notice I shouldn't be here at some point. I mean, it's been 20 years, but they're going to notice
that I just don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I think that's very indicative. A lot of us that are in creative fields or have that creative field or background feel that way, right? And to your point, I identify as a graphic artist. People ask me what I am. I'm a graphic artist. I haven't done graphic art for I can't tell you how many years. But to your point, marketing, kind of the same thing.
Right. Yeah, it's difficult to let that go. It's how I identify, and I get a little embarrassed when people start bringing attention. Like when I'm standing in front of them, they're like, "Oh, I read your books. Oh, I liked your books." I'm like, "Please stop."
Thank you. Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I'd like to talk marketing." I'm like, "I'm in. Let's go."
Okay, I'm all in, which we're going to do today. So I'm really excited to definitely get there. But before we get there, let's talk a little bit about the genres that you write in.
Okay. Predominantly paranormal romance. A little bit, I've ventured into contemporary romance. I'm going to be honest, I can't give those away. But paranormal romance, paranormal women's fiction, that's exciting. That kind of launched this year. I mean, it's something that's been around. It wasn't invented, but we just sort of got together, a group of us, and decided that we would try to bring more attention to it. So that was really exciting. And shout out to the girls there. Michelle Pello, Eve, everybody, Shannon, Robin. I'm going to forget somebody, and I should have it up. But yeah, there's a whole big list of us. There's 13.
There is. And if you if you search for paranormal women's romance, you're going to see this list of authors that are fantastic and have decided, which I was super thrilled. I read this because I'm at that age So it resonates with me because I was getting to the point where, all of the heroines are teenagers or 20s, and I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I don't move like that anymore. I don't relate to that anymore. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting. Who had the idea to start investing in this genre?
Funny enough, I had reached out to Jana De Leon. She's in it as well. And I said, hey, Jana, I have this thing I want to do. And I really want to do this. She goes, oh, I can't talk about something. There's an NDA. And I'm like, she's like, let me call you back in an hour. So she calls me back and she's like, okay, so, KF Green and Shannon Mayer already put this together. I've already said yes to this. We're just not talking about it right now.
Right.
But yeah, we would like you to come in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And it was so funny because it was the case of I had asked Janet and Janet had already been asked by someone else to do something. So yeah,
And
that's
it
kind of
just
how we ended up
exploded
with
from
it.
there.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Well, as a woman in her 40s, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was
Um,
amazing. I was surprised to see how many characters I was writing that were younger. I just had been used to
uh-huh,
doing that, and that's how I was doing it. And even as I leveled up, they hadn't really. So
uh-huh.
it's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry while I take a sip.
no, you go for it. Um, by the way, I just glanced over and there was a comment that said the two of you could be sisters. Funny enough, when we met earlier this week, it was the first time we ever met earlier this week, and that was a comment both of us were like, we're related, and somebody didn't tell us. Um, so, okay, moving right along, totally off task. Um,
I
so
love it.
yeah, me too. Let's talk a little bit about the marketing for that. Let's start moving into that marketing segment.
Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about the marketing for this genre that you're now bringing, kind of highlighting. What
Right.
were some of the challenges and what were some of the really awesome um, marketing opportunities and some of the challenges with this new genre?
Well, I will say right up front that KDP has been phenomenal with getting behind this and really
Mhm.
being supportive. And I'm sure at first, maybe some of the male reps in that were kind of like, I don't know how this is going to go. But I feel like all of the women were like, oh, heck yeah, this
Yeah.
is happening. So, and very quickly, everyone was on board, which is really exciting. And then, there was the obvious, doing the AMS things, getting those in place with the marketing and whatnot, making sure that we have really on point, good branded covers,
Mhm.
similar yet unique feel to each one. We were trying to not pioneer necessarily because it was already out there, but trying
Mhm.
to just draw attention in so that when people saw it, they would instantly know what it was. So that when other authors were coming in and wanting to write in it as well, it was really branded for them too. And
Mhm.
that authors that had existing things could possibly go look at rebranding to match too.
Mhm.
Just kind of like when you see a certain young adult cover, you just kind of know young adult. So we
Right.
tried to aim at that and kind of create so that this is a leveled up adult.
Right.
So, yeah. Uh, the decision was also made on taglines. We got
Mhm.
together and I'm like, I need everybody to just make a list of tags that you think are great, and we're gonna go from there. And I began pulling and then putting them into videos and making some still
Mhm.
graphics, and then a couple others started doing some still graphics and that. And I just went with the approach on, I'm this demographic. I'm this forgotten about invisible
Mhm.
person who,
Yes.
my dollar tends to count the most because, predominantly I'm the decision maker in the
Right.
family, like most
Right.
women with it, but I'm not targeted. The younger
Right.
versions, I've skipped, I'm no longer here. So what would I
Right.
want to see? And so it was important that, those spoke to that. Are you
Mhm.
over 40? Do you feel left out? Do you feel, this? Do you feel like you have a lot of life in you? Do you feel kick butt? Do you feel attractive?
Mhm.
Do and it was weird and it was really liberating and
Oh,
really
good.
exciting.
Well,
Sorry, I could
let's
talk.
talk. No, no, and that's exciting. And I think that this is really important because branding is important. And I think it's not something that we talk about a whole lot. How
Yeah,
do you develop a brand? And then once you develop it, because there's some research that goes into developing a
right.
brand. So let's talk about that for just a minute. When you're developing a new brand, kind of what's your mindset? How do you tackle that?
Well, I will tell you that KF and Shannon had a definite vision in mind when I first came on already. They had a really good vision in mind. And then
Mhm.
my first two cover concepts for my own personal series, they were great for what they were, but they weren't going to work for this.
Okay.
And as a group of 13, it worked out really well. We have, a
Mhm.
little area that we would discuss it, and there was no any kind of issues or anything. People were just like, yes, no, yeah. And nobody took, offense or anything, which was
Right.
great. And it ended up being, and finally the third one, which funny enough, I think was actually my first try, but I had done it and I had said, I don't love that. I'm not sure if I'm going to put that out there to the group. And I was like, I
Uh-huh.
don't know if that's going to work. Ended up being the one that works. I'm
Nice.
like, well, I have this one, but I don't think anybody's going to like it. And they're like, no,
Right.
that's perfect.
Awesome. All right. So you mentioned videos, and this is
Yes,
something I know we haven't talked about on this series.
yes,
Uh, why videos? It's a book, right? So what do you do?
yes.
And then how do you develop them and where do you release
Right.
them? All the things about, let's talk all about all of them. Okay.
Well, number one, all the social media platforms are always being inventive, and the things that they're creating, and they're trying to compete with each other with things, with the shorter videos, the longer videos. One's competing with YouTube, and they have this. Another one wants to do the Instagram Reel thing. Another one's TikTok. You have
Hmm.
all these things, and it tends to be that videos right now currently are tickling those particular algorithms. So you're going to get a little more pack for your, punch there. Um, if you use those, you're going to be able to not have to necessarily spend behind it to get it seen. They're going to
Hmm.
push you out a little bit further. So it makes sense to invest a little upfront in that, spend the time and the effort in that. Get your video, which, if you can keep it depending on length, is I always say like 30 to 45 seconds is phenomenal.
Hmm.
But you can vary that length from whatnot. But you can put them up, you can share them, you can use it across all platforms. If you build in a square format, it's
Hmm.
really easy to do. And it's super exciting. And also on Author Central, there had been an option where we could put up a video,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
that. And there's recently they've redeveloped that, and I'm just getting to play in that now, and I'm so excited. Can I just say thank you to the people behind that, because it is so much better to be in there now.
Good. I will make sure I pass that along to them. It's always exciting when we release something and it's like, yay, I've been waiting for that.
Right.
So definitely pass that along.
Yeah. Very, very excited. It's so easy to find things now. And I will say really quickly, if you're not out there and you're using KDP and you're not out there and you're using all of the Author Central options, which are filling in, about the authors, you're from this, from the pub, fill that in, get all that in there, tie your things together. It is
Hmm.
its own marketing push. So
Yes. Yeah. Totally agree. I think it's one of the underutilized. People are like, well, I have my account, but they're not taking advantage of making sure that for each title, it's branded
right.
uniquely. Right.
And
I
now
totally agree.
Author Central has made it super easy to see each country as well that you're on. Before it was a
Oh,
little
good.
bit difficult to get to each one, I'm not gonna lie. Now it's just a quick drop down. And I got so excited that I started calling friends who also write. And I'm like, look, you can access this easy. You can tell I might be a little bit of a marketing geek, but I got excited about that. But
Hey, that's great. We're game with that. So let's go back to the videos just a little
yes.
bit because I don't think
Mhm.
that people understand like kind of how to get started or how to even create a video for a book. So how do you come up with the idea? Is there a specific, you know, software that you use? Tell us a little bit
There
about that.
is, depending on your skill set level. I mean, obviously the Adobe stuff, I mean, that's out there. Everyone knows about it. It can be difficult learning curve. There
Right.
are plenty of things out there that can help walk you through it, even like free YouTube videos on how to do it. I will say that it does tend to cost a little bit more
Mhm.
than most of them too. There are a lot of online options that will do this as well for much less. And I think people sometimes get overwhelmed and they think, I can't do a video for my book. It's just too much. But the social media platforms and that count the animated post as a video as well. So when they're pushing through on Instagram, if you just have an animated, what would normally be a static image, or maybe like
Mhm.
animated text, it counts as a video. So you get the same play. So you don't have to be there, and you don't have to hire actors. You don't have to do all that. I mean, if you want to, you're welcome to. But you can go on and you can get stock video footage and that from places like Shutterstock, Adobe Stock. I believe Deposit even has it. There's so many.
Mhm.
And you can use places like Animoto online, which will let you put all these together. And also they offer royalty-free commercial license stock as well, and there's a certain amount of it, of video and still images that you can use. They offer all the size formats. The square is really difficult to get, make on your own with things. You have to really be able to do well on that with Adobe and that to do that yourself. Filmora 9 is a really great counterpart that I like. I like that for its versatility. There is a learning curve to it, but I will say it's easier than a lot of the Adobe things, in my opinion, for people to learn. Canva offers you the ability to do animated posts and whatnot, and they are super economical on their price. They also have a lot of stock that's in there for you. No matter what, you need to make sure you're reading places' terms of service, that you're rereading the terms of service, because they will update it. And often all of them say we can update this at any time and you have to adhere to it regardless. So make sure you periodically check that again, that you can use it commercially, that you can use the music that's associated with it, and that if you are purchasing stock music, that it's not limiting you on where you can put it. Like I know that places like Hulu are offering paid things now. I haven't done that as of yet because I'm not sure that my licensing is approved for that, because I'm not sure if that falls under. So I actually email everywhere and I ask, and I say, is this approved? Before I put anything up on, anywhere with any platform, I say, is it approved for this and is it okay? And then I save all my licensing stuff within each file, and I keep it on hand because it's important. Just because you found it on the internet doesn't mean it's okay to use on the internet.
Exactly. And that goes for your cover art too, because I think that that's a challenge, is that especially when you're just getting started, you don't know to go check those terms and conditions. And I know we all love reading the fine print. That's how I fall asleep at night. But anyway, it's important. It's really important because you're running a business.
Right. And then occasionally you will have where, even with all of that in place, that someone will try to red flag or something, and you have all your stuff right there to go, oh, here you go, here you go, here you go. And then you're like, how you like me now?
I gotcha. I got this.
So there are a lot of places. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. So Biteable's another one. They will also offer you the ability to have like stock and that you can use in there. That's included in the fees and all that. These are great things because it's a lot of money saving things, because these can add up quickly. The stock video for the quality level that you need for the resolution in that can add up very quickly, and a lot of your budget can be spent there on that. Graphic creation, you can take stock photos that you purchase and you can make slideshows with them, which count as an animated thing, and that's as easy as PowerPoint. There are many, many, many things, and I'm trying to think of all of them because there's just so many, and I did put a list together for us if you need it at some point.
So yes, so there is a blog on your site, and I'm going to ask Sarah to go ahead and put that through on the chat. So we don't often use the chat, but you'll see a link come through, and go ahead and copy that, and then that way you have all the resources that we're currently talking about.
Yeah, so there's like WeVideo, Video Ease, InVideo, WaveVideo. There's so many versions of the same type of thing, and you'll have to look for which one works the best for you and what you need. Some of them will limit you to maybe like 5 videos a month or 10, and if you know you're going to be making a ton. I make a lot of videos, and I once bought one and I thought, I am going to just eat up those 100 videos. I'm going to there's no way. At the end of the year, I was scrambling because I still had 80 videos left.
Oh.
So at that time, I was like, who needs a video? Anybody need a video?
You get a video, I get a video, everybody gets a video.
Everybody gets a video.
And if you're struggling with the technology and you're not quite sure how to begin, I find that finding your local teenager will help you.
Yes.
So it's amazing how much they understand this technology. My kids, I graphic artist, and still sometimes, especially when it comes to social media, I'm picking up the phone going, all right, how do I do this? So find somebody in their teens, 20s. It's amazing the amount of knowledge that they have.
And Canva really, and I plug them a lot, and I'm not getting any kickbacks or anything. It's just I find that they're the easiest to tell authors to use. They're the easiest to jump in at. They have a really great online coursing that they do, and it's free for everybody to go, and it'll teach you. And you can use that at any platform if you want, but there are tons of tools out there.
Hmm.
And really just searching is your best friend. Yeah,
Yes,
YouTube is so
definitely.
fabulous for training.
I YouTube everything. But yeah,
Right.
Canva is another one that we suggest for your cover. They have cover templates for ebooks.
They
They
do.
have
Mhm.
the ability to make paperbacks there as well. So if you're not outsourcing, that's an option for you. Um,
Right.
awesome. Well, we appreciate that. That's amazing, great information. So let's talk a little bit more about a release. So when you're
Okay.
releasing a book and you're going to start putting together your marketing plan, what does your marketing plan look like for a new release?
Well, I first and foremost make sure I've got all my cover art in place. Coming from the art background, that's really important to me to have that cover ready to go. And then I begin making sure I have mock-ups ready.
Mhm.
Those things where it looks like your book is on a beach with somebody, but your book isn't actually on a beach with anybody. Those type of things for those who don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so I make sure all of that's in place so I can pull off of those quickly. And I make sure that they're all
Mhm.
sized for because every place has a little bit different. And I
Mhm.
tend to, like I said, go with the square because I can use that at the most spots. Getting all of that in order, begin sprinkling out things, making sure my pre-order is set up, because I'm finding more and more as we get with shorter things and quicker things and everybody's at our fingertips, instant gratification is a must. And if you're sending a reader somewhere and you're saying, here you go, make sure they're able to order that because they're very busy. And if they took time out to go there, they don't want to go there and find out that they have to wait for the order link. Make sure
Right.
they can do it then. Because a lot of people are like, I want to order this now and I don't want to think about it again. I'm
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
And then it's a pleasant surprise when it happens. I'm like, oh, look what arrived on
I
my reader.
forgot about this. Yay.
Yay, guess what I'm doing? Um, so make sure that that is ready. And I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, I'm going to do these reveals, and that's fine if that works for you. I don't personally do those anymore because I feel like anymore people just they want it now.
Mhm.
So I make sure that's all in place. I make sure that I have at least a working tentative blurb, something up there, even a tagline, so they can go off and they can know if it's an existing series. I'll tease about who the hero is or who the
Mhm.
heroine is, or something like that. Sometimes I just want it to be such a secret that I will actually say on my ops, mission classified, because I don't want any spoilers, because my readers are awesome, but they will begin trying to guess what's going to happen. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Yeah. But making
Wait a
sure
minute.
all
I'm
that,
writing the book,
yeah.
not you.
And I kind of drip it out and sprinkle it out through my platforms. I make sure that I announce it in my mailing list. And I will say right now, if you do not have a mailing list, stop what you're doing and create a mailing list. The only thing that has been consistent in my career for 20 years in this industry has been a mailing list and my own website.
Mhm.
That is the only two platforms that I've controlled. You make sure first and foremost you have those taken care of.
Mhm.
And you don't have to mail all the time. And if people say you have to, do this, that, and the other thing, it's whatever works for you and your readers. You do what
Mhm.
works for you.
Mhm.
And but yes, if you don't have one, get one. But I send one out to them. I let them know and make them aware and make sure my website is updated with that information, because there's nothing worse for a reader to go and then they're like, it's not on your site.
Right. Where do I find this? Mhm.
Yeah, and then I have a Facebook reader group that is super active and they're wonderful. The Roth heads are amazing. I let them know because, part of being in there is you get to find out sooner. And
Mhm.
then, shortly thereafter, I'll announce on my author pages and places like that. I will make sure that my Author Central is linking to, all of the pre-order stuff. I will make sure that anything that needs to be updated in there to include that. If I've got like a book reading order list or something, that includes it, which I'm
Mhm.
super guilty of. That's the one thing that usually falls by the wayside. And then 3 books later, I'm like, I should add those. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want a really good example of how an Author Central page can work for you, go check out Mandy's Author Central page. She's got her videos posted. It's really, really well done. Um,
Thank you.
one question that I have, and you mentioned it, social media. We get questions around social media. What platforms do you use?
Well, for me, myself, my readers tend to be a certain age group, and right now that predominantly is using that age group's from using Facebook, and then they're segueing over into Instagram more and more. Okay,
Mhm.
they certainly are, and then Pinterest.
Oh,
It's
okay.
great to just make sure my covers are being up there, and that I have a book section, and my readers very much like to go and look at the inspiration for my book.
Yeah.
You can get away with a little bit. You can repin something on Pinterest that you can get away with a little bit more. Like there's a celebrity photo you would like to pin. If
Uh-huh.
that's up somewhere, a magazine pinned it, and you want to repin from there in your own thing saying this was character inspiration, you can get away with a little bit more. I would
Right.
not go loading celebrity photos on there or
No.
anything because that would be an issue. But they like to see that. And they also like to see like maybe what inspired the scene setting for the house,
Mhm.
or, like Bram from one of my books. He's a vampire. He's older, he's a really great gothic like mansion. And I put all of that up there and said, here it is. I also do Spotify, and I share my playlist for each thing because the readers seem to really enjoy, seeing what I listen to. And
Right.
I have one for every book series and almost every book that I do. That is up. Let's see, TikTok. I'm just recently getting over onto that. I was reluctant. I had an account for a year and I watched it and I thought, okay, one, I mean, thirst trap not happening. I dance like maybe I should sit down and not dance. So, can't sing, not super young. So I thought, what will I do? I'm like, just be me, to heck with
Uh-huh.
it. And it's working. It's a slow developing platform, but I will tell you that they are very book friendly. If you find
Mhm.
their, book talk over there, you will find out. And they just are very supportive. So
Oh, good. Good.
I
Glad to
don't
hear
do a
that.
ton on Twitter anymore. I do have a presence. At one point, I was very, very active there. I kind of go there and I read the news, and I do make announcement posts in that. I don't interact a ton there, and that's just because there's just so much of me during the day that,
Mhm.
what's left is like, here's the announcement.
And I'm out.
Yeah,
So let's talk about your day. What does your day look like? How much writing do you get in versus the marketing seems to be your passion? So
yeah.
how do you balance that?
Well, it depends. When I get up, I think, what mood am I in today? And boy, my husband walks around thinking, what mood is she in today? It's a question of the morning. So if I'm feeling super focused, I sit down and I write. I use that focus to write. If I'm feeling a little scattered, then I use it to market because that naturally for me still works and I don't have an
Mhm.
issue. But if I'm feeling a little scattered and I try to force the writing at that time, I will either write myself into a corner, I'll write 4 words, think I have written 3,000 and be very discouraged when I realize it was 4, or I'll write
Right.
3,000 and they're not great words.
Mhm.
So I have to delete them later. But that's pretty much it. And I normally will get up super early and try to write before the household starts. Now, mind you, my children are older and in college now, but boy, can they still interrupt like they were toddlers.
Right.
So is my oldest child that I didn't give birth to, but I married. He can
I
just,
understand that one.
so I try to work when they're not active. And then
Mhm.
I will also then stay up late. So to this day, even with 20-year career, I will sleep not as much as I probably should,
Yeah.
but that's okay. I have one of those like excited personalities that,
Mhm.
what did I miss? I can't be asleep. I could miss something.
I could miss
So
that. Yeah. Be
yeah.
involved in everything. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's go ahead. We've got lots of questions coming in. So let's start digging into some of these questions that um, so Lawrence wants to know, what are the 5 to 10 best ebook marketers?
Like the influencers who do this and whatnot.
More like sites that you can use outside of Amazon.
Okay, well, I would say first and foremost, AMS. I
Mhm.
would say check into and begin learning a little bit more about Facebook ads. You do not have to spend a ton of money on Facebook ads to make them work. You do have to take the time to learn about them.
Mhm.
I will suggest looking at things like Ad Espresso, and there's some other like alternatives to that, which is a place that will help set up. You can set up your stuff through their dash and you can kind of do all that and you can put your things in. And then if you pay a little bit of extra, they will take a look at your campaign after it's been running for a bit and they will make
Mhm.
some suggestions. So if you need that extra gatekeeping and hand holding, use those things. There are Twitter ads as well. I have never had a ton of success in them. I also have not sit down and to learn the algorithms for it. I just
Mhm.
haven't. That's my own thing. Poor Twitter, it falls by the wayside for me. BookBub has ads that you can use, and they're always rolling out new. They just rolled out some new like banner type ones and whatnot. There are also the BookBub features that you can get for discounted books and whatnot. That's always helpful. There are oodles of things, or e-reader news today will do things. The ENT, which is often you'll hear authors say ENT, and other. When I first started, I was like, what is everybody talking about with that?
Right.
That's so my thing. I'm always sitting around like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, I
There
find
are,
myself lost a lot. So,
yeah, and if you look at things like you Google things like BookBub Alternative and what, you'll see lists of like 30, 40 alternative places. Now, the quality of that varies, and often you'll get kind of what you pay for. But there are a lot of things out there. There are still places that offer blog tour, things that you can do online, which is often, I've never done any kind of paid one or anything,
mhm.
but there's traction there. And especially when you're first starting out, you want to be getting your website link out there. You want to be getting those clickbacks, those hyperlinks out there that algorithm boost, so that in the search engines you're coming up sooner and sooner. You don't want someone else coming up in your spot.
Right.
So there are so many things that Goodreads offers as well. There's advertising there. I don't know, as try as I might, Goodreads and I just can't seem to figure it out. But if somebody ever wants to walk me through it, that's great. I'm like, I don't know how to add a book.
So do you interact on Goodreads as a reader? I think that's the first thing that we suggest to everyone is try it as a reader first.
Yeah, I do. I tend to forget to put what I'm reading over there. Like, I
Uh-huh.
wish that it would just auto do that for me when I'm in the book. Like auto go out but yeah, so I tend to forget to do that, but I do have that. I do every once in a while answer questions that I see in there, and I will also every once in a while put a thing up that says, I'm open to questions if you'd like to ask me one, because it's not a place that I remember to check often, and I don't like leaving a question sat unanswered for 2 years when I find
Right.
it, which has happened there. So
Okay.
I will often say, and then I also make sure my blog RSS feed is feeding out to
Uh-huh.
both Author Central, and to Goodreads, because
Right.
that's just one more thing.
Mhm.
It's free for you to use. It's another tool, and it's helping your reach.
Mhm.
So, and I don't blog all the time. I used to when I first started. For the first 10 years, I blogged all the time. Now I just pretty much blog announcements, which
Okay.
is fine too. Yeah, so
Right. Right. Now, how often do you publish? How many times a year do you publish?
it depends on the year. 2020 has been very 2020.
Yes.
So this is the first time I've been very behind on things. It's just been a
Mhm.
difficult year. It's been hard to keep focus. I'm sure
Yep.
everyone can agree. And while you think I'd have oodles of time being, home, it's difficult to make sure that, you're staying upbeat and you're staying this, because a lot of what I do,
Mhm.
even when it is a darker subject matter, I sprinkle humor in, because I think
Mhm.
that I find laughter in even the darkest spots. So it's important, but sometimes it's hard to find the funny when it's
Mhm.
difficult. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's that. On average for a year.
Okay.
If it's really like I just really had my stuff together that year, I can
Uh-huh.
maybe do 6. When I first started and I was on my writing high, it was more like 12 books a year. Now,
Wow.
full disclosure, I have had to spend the last 10 years cleaning up those first books. Just take that as you may. So yeah,
Gotcha. So you started with traditional publishing and then moved over to indie publishing.
I
Tell us
did.
a little bit about that.
I want to say it was around 2008, maybe 2009. I'd begun getting time release contracts back from a number of the places where you'll, if you sign a contract, sometimes you'll sign one that's like maybe 5 years, 7 years, whatnot, and then the book will come back to you unless you want to re-up it with them. And at the time, I started thinking about that I was doing cover art for them.
Mhm.
Most of these places I was doing cover art for,
Mhm.
as well as working in their marketing, helping advise their marketing and whatnot. So I was doing the writing of the book, I was doing the cover of the book, and I was doing the marketing. I wasn't doing the editing. That was the only
Mhm.
thing. And I'm like, why am I continuing to share so much of my proceeds
Mhm.
with it? Why am I letting a middleman take so much when I'm doing the lion's share of the lifting? And then, as luck would have it, over the years, cultivated some really great relationships with the editors that I had. And I was like, are you?
So Karen wants to know how you can promote your books in your community or your city. Do you do a lot of promotion locally?
Not. And can you guys hear me now still?
Yeah.
Okay. I do not do a lot locally, mainly because when I first started, I used my real name. I didn't think anyone would buy my books. The joke is on me. So I am and was very easy to find. And I did this when my children were very young. My youngest was just born when I first started. And when I first
Okay.
got published, he was like barely 3.
Uh-huh.
And they were going to school, and at the time, 20 years ago, saying, "Oh, my mom's a romance author." I mean, one lie told everybody I worked in a lab. He didn't
Oh
even tell
no.
people the truth. He was so embarrassed by mom being a romance author. The middle one was like strutting around like, "My mom's an author." The youngest one's like, "I don't know what she does. I don't pay attention." So,
It's the middle child. I mean, we're just
right,
so in your face and yes,
right,
this is what, yeah. I'll tell all the secrets.
exactly. So I didn't want to do too much close to home at the time. And that kind of just stuck that way. And I don't know why. I have no shame. Like, I'm proud of what I do and that. It just kind of stuck that way. I do a lot of promoting out there. And I try to make sure I include everybody internationally too, because, they're buying my books too. So I try to make sure I'm promoting that way.
Hmm.
Not last year, but the year prior, I spent most of the year doing the book conference circuits, the different conventions, going to signings.
Hmm.
The joke was that I was home like 2 weeks of a whole summer, but not together, like spread out, because I would come home long enough to change what I needed for that climate and
Uh-huh.
then head out again.
Then
So
back out. Yeah.
yeah.
So my team is wonderful, and let me know that we were talking about your transition from traditional publishing back to KDP. This is why I have a
Right.
team.
I am like that one dog from Up, like squirrel. You can't. I get off subject so easy. Yes, I transitioned over
Mhm.
because at the time I had these books coming back out of contract, and I didn't have anywhere to go with them, and didn't feel like I wanted to continue to share that. And I'm not going to lie, a couple of the places I was at were having some questionable ethics and whatnot going on
Mm,
suddenly, as can happen.
mhm. That
So I was like,
indeed.
I'm not sure I want to be tied up in all that.
Mhm.
And some other ones were limiting how often I could release, which, that's
Mm,
fine. They make the release schedule, that's fine. But I was writing way more than one book a year.
mhm,
And that wasn't sustainable for income either, especially off of the percentage I was making.
mhm.
So at the time, I was like, what can I do with these? Can I just maybe sell direct? And getting all that set up was insane. And I will say that my bestie, Michelle Pello, who also writes, if you haven't, tried her, check her out. But she and I were in the same boat. We started the same day. And so we had the contracts literally come back at the same time. Like, what do we do with these books?
Uh-huh.
So we dove into it, learned how to make a shopping cart online and all of that, and did all of this. And at the very same time, lo and behold, here comes KDP.
Mhm.
And the opportunity was presented that, would you like to give this a try? Would you like to come in on the ground floor? And I thought, if I don't have to do that heavy lifting on that end, I'm in. So sign me up. So that kind of opened that avenue.
Uh-huh.
And very quickly, things began to go from I was going to use it as a place to put my re-released, books that were coming back out again,
Right.
to I think I might do my next new release this way, and I don't know how it's going to go. And at the time, there was a lot of misconceptions about
Mhm.
going indie. They were saying vanity, oh, you're vanity. Well, you know what? I started in small press and then also got traditional. And the small press, I was looked at as, less than at that time. So I was
Right.
like, it's not, but continue to look at me any way you want, because this is what I'm doing.
And
And
I'm still
how
selling
funny,
books.
those people ask me how to do it. So just saying. But yeah, so that became a thing, and I put out my very first original thing, which was part of my Mortal Ops series, but it was book 4. I had sat on that because the publisher at the time, I just wasn't going to continue with them, and I
Hmm.
needed to get all the rights back from the first 3, and I wanted them all in one spot. So I kind of had to sit on everything, but I thought, well, I will indie release this book, and I don't know how it's going to go. It went really well. The sales in the beginning were very small for me, but it was also very small starting out. Like, everyone was just learning.
Right.
And it just began to kind of grow. And then I wasn't sure it was necessarily for me. And I thought, well, I'm going to take this like box that I have of the first 4, now that I have all the
Hmm.
rights back. and I'm going to discount it and set it aside. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on that series or whatnot. And I just stopped looking at it. I stopped paying attention to it, started focusing on other things to put out and building, the platform with some, my urban fantasies, the whatnot. And then all of a sudden I look over and notice there's been like 100,000 downloads and buys of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, this is awesome. Now, mind
Right.
you, I had, priced this down pretty far and whatnot.
Right.
So it wasn't like, but then started the emails and started the, where's book 5? Where's book? And I was like, oh gosh, where is book 5? I had just kind of tabled it and I had written a bunch, but they weren't cleaned and ready. So then I had to kind of get in there and get cleaned, get ready, get expanded, and then get them coming out. And the second that was a possibility, KDP then reached out and said, we've got some other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you interested in helping us learn what will and won't work? And I was like, I'm in 100% of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I launched a spinoff of that world, and KDP was phenomenal in helping facilitate that.
Uh-huh.
And shortly thereafter, Kindle Unlimited was started. And I was, asked about that, and did I want to commit some things to that and give it a try? And I remember at the time I was on vacation with my family and I got the phone call and I could barely hear my rep. And I was like, hold on. She's like, no, I just need to know. Just let me know what you want in. And I'm like, okay. And I just rattled off some things and then those blew up. And it's been just a whirlwind. It's been exciting. There is never a dull moment. There's always something new. And I will say that on your guys' end, you're always trying to make it better, tweak it, change it, bring in some other things that could possibly help, which is exciting. I know it's also frustrating at times for everybody because things won't work as planned.
Right.
But ultimately, in the end, you get where you need to be on it. So.
Well, thank you for that. We definitely try. And the changes that we make definitely come from authors and author suggestions. So if you have suggestions, we want to hear about it.
Oh, I do. Can we have a delete option in the KDP board? Because when you're like me and you have 9,000 books that are no longer out, those suckers take up space and get in the way when you're looking.
All right. I will definitely pass that along. Thank you for that suggestion. Okay. So Michelle wants to know, what's the name of your paranormal women's fiction, and are you planning more series in that genre?
Yes. The name of the one that is currently out now is Grim Cove. And I'm very excited. The last one that had come out, I was so nervous about because it had been delayed so much throughout this year, with it being a really hard year on my family and whatnot. And I thought, oh, everybody's going to hate this book. At USA Today listed. I was so excited. And then I was like, of course it did. But I do have more on the schedule. The pre-orders are up for those. And I also have a new paranormal women's fiction series that will be starting next year. And this one, it has a little bit more of an urban fantasy vibe to it because, okay, I'm not going to lie, it's the first one I wrote when we started talking about it. And then I freaked out and didn't want to use it. I do this a lot. So I'm like, yeah, actually it will work. So, yeah.
Good. Okay. We have additional questions on the best way to market for. So kind of going back to what we were talking earlier about some of the marketing for the new paranormal romance, we get questions around, autobiographies or children's books or marketing for any of those. And I think that the key to marketing anything is finding your readers. So how do you go about identifying where to find your readers and then being able to bring your content in front of them?
Right. Learning your target market is definitely, the key thing. There are tons of places out there. There are tons of existing groups and whatnot on different social media platforms. Do not just walk in the door and be like, I'm here, I write this, and here's my stuff. Because that's just not cool. They will often open the platform for people to come and do guest things. Like I know that our paranormal women's fiction group, we have a Facebook reader group that we all are part of, and it's got over 10,000 readers in it that are excited about it. And we made sure we opened that platform and said, if you'd like to be a guest author and you want to come and you want to share your paranormal women's fiction stuff, sign up here, get your date, come that day, and blast the heck out of it and share your info. There are groups out there like that. There are other authors out there that believe that there's enough room at the top for everybody to come. There's enough there's enough of everything. And I have believed from day one, and I think the people that know me from over the years, the authors who, I believe that we move forward better as a whole than as one. So if we're all doing, if we're all moving forward and romance is doing well as a genre, yay for us, because
Right.
we kind of get looked down noses at romance as it is sometimes from people within our own industry, which is bad, but it happens. And I mean, it happens to all kinds of genres, but we kind of don't need to do it to ourselves. So
Right.
we should definitely be, and it's not just women who write it, but it should be women, supporting women, but men do write romance as well, and men read romance. Don't forget about your male reader, because they probably already feel a little bit
a little awkward, but it's
yeah.
there. It's
I'm seeing more and more come out and say I read it. So
yeah. Well, and I think that that's the key, is that there is a readership, right? We all have diverse interests. So just because like maybe the book industry as a whole may not accept a particular genre doesn't mean the readers don't want it.
Right.
And I
Which
think
is
that that's
what
the
has been
amazing
fabulous about indie.
thing.
Yeah, that's been so great.
Right.
Cross genre. I mean, we're not just crossing it, we're mashing up so many genres. It becomes hard to tell you what that genre is.
Right. Which brings its own marketing challenges, because what genre do you put it in? Where do people find this?
I will say, can I just say quickly on stuff when you are branding for we were talking about covers and that.
Yeah.
I am sure that the people at KDP and AMS would be very appreciative if you made sure your cover was safe to market to all ages. Even if your book isn't, make sure that you're not trying to put a marketing ad up there for something that maybe is way too risque. And so if it couldn't sit on the front of a bookshelf store in the middle of a mall facing outward for people to walk by and see, you're not going to have a really good chance of it getting through AMS and those other places. And that's not the only platform that will, do that. So just that's a little tip for authors out there when you're doing your planning on that.
Good. I think that that's excellent advice, and something that comes up frequently.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple questions about if you have an assistant, do you manage your own website?
I do. I have an assistant. Her name is Heather, and I think she is probably in the chat. She got up early for this, people. She is not a morning person. I'm pretty sure I owe her a kidney now. But she's fabulous. She's been with me now since I think March, and she's great. She pretty much, runs my reader group for me because I'm always busy writing and whatnot, and I pop in and be able to say hi. She posts on social media for me on like my author page. She helped me originally get my website. I did a massive redo on my website earlier in the year. She helped go in and plug things in, like the linkage and that for me and everything. But beyond that, I do my own website. That's something that I've always done because my, background is in that. I do highly suggest WordPress for authors. It's very versatile. You can get lots of different things going on there, lots of different plugins, but it's what I love. So, and then I also do things, multiple ones. Like we have like the Happily Ever Lasting series with Kristen Painter and Janet DeLeon and Michelle.
Right.
I do that website. I do, that stuff for us. And yeah.
Okay.
So did I answer the question? Because I ramble. Sorry.
No, I think you answered the question, definitely. So Mark, we'll get back to it eventually. Mark said he's about to complete his first book. Congratulations, that's amazing. If you were he, what would be the top 3 marketing steps in order of importance?
Well, depending on what he writes, I would say it's very different if you're nonfiction versus fiction. It's very different if you're sci-fi versus, fantasy. But the top 3 things I would say is make sure your cover is on brand. Make sure, well, first and foremost, you know what your brand should be. You know who your market is. Learn that. Learn who is doing very well in your particular genre, in that area. Kind of get a feel for what they are and they're not doing in that. Don't do exactly, because that's kind of, but just get a feel, because there's also a lot of things that certain genre readers are very used to, seeing, and used to. There's certain colors or certain fonts, there's certain things that they expect to have on a cover. Make sure you have those elements there. Certain color schemes, like, purples and
Mhm.
blues and whatnots, tend to be a paranormal thing. Pay
Oh,
attention to that. If you're doing certain things, make sure your cover isn't looking like the young adult. If you're writing something that's really super not young adult, like, pay attention. And then I would start going out and start, I don't even know how to say this, get on and just sort of join the groups, see what people are
mhm.
talking about, see where they're going. Make sure that you get a Goodreads presence. You can ask in groups with people in it and say, is anyone in here a Goodreads librarian that can help me? I have been doing this, I don't know how long. I've been around since Goodreads started, and I still have to ask for help with it because I don't know what I'm doing there. I have no
Right.
shame. If I don't know, I just say it. And they will help get your book listed up
Mhm.
there and get your information listed up there. Make sure you filled out your Author Central stuff and that you are claiming your ASIN number on there and tying your books to everything. If you're going to do the print edition, make sure you're tying that through on the KDP Dash. KDP offers fabulous cover templates that you can download and make sure that if you're doing your cover or if your artist is doing if you're an artist doing it, making sure that you're complying with all of that. Making sure your formatting is professional and whatnot. There's Vellum, there's Scrivener, there's Create,
Kindle
which
Create. Yep.
they're off, and you guys, they're always offering new updates to that. They're trying hard. If you have a suggestion, reach out. And the gentleman who's been kind of point on that has been very open to listening. So
Yes.
I will say that. Uh, Pay attention to what's coming through in your genre on the BookBubs and how the BookBub ads are looking that are down there. Get an idea of what is and isn't working. You're going to see that by sales on the book itself, especially if it's not like a auto buy author.
Mhm.
If you see an
Mhm.
author who's maybe new to people and they're doing very well, what are they doing in their marketing? Are they super active? Did they start their own group somewhere? Do they have a newsletter that they're active in? What about their newsletter is? Make sure they're active and they're ethically active. Don't follow in the
Mhm.
footsteps of somebody who's making poor choices that you very much know are poor choices, because it won't end well.
If it seems too easy, it is too easy, and it's
Right.
probably not a good idea. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Be prepared to give away a lot of books. I know that some authors don't agree on this. I've sold well over 1 million. At this point, I'm just shy of giving away 1 million in 20-year career, because that's tracked as well.
Okay.
And okay, and not in a 20-year career, just since I've been tracking my indie numbers. I've sold over the 1 million there, and then I have also given away nearly 1 million since
Mhm.
2009. You will give away quite a few. And for me, I consider, if I have a giveaway on a lost leader, a first in series, if I can get 20 to 30% of those people to come and buy book 2, that is a serious win.
Mhm.
From that point forward, my buy through pretty much is 80 to 100% on every book thereafter. So if I can get them through the hump, it keeps
Mhm.
them in. But getting them in, it does take some time, and you are not for everyone. Not everyone is going to love your book, and that is fine. You didn't write it for everyone.
Mhm.
Uh, understand that there will be, people who absolutely hate it, but there will be
Mhm.
people who love it as well. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
And that's your audience. Those are the people that you're trying to reach.
yeah,
And I think that just you have to, like anytime that you're an artist and you put your work out there, anytime somebody's like, I don't know that I like this, you're like, what?
yeah. And I will
Mhm.
say, for Mark too, there's a place called BookFunnel that you can use. There's other options to it too, but BookFunnel's been really good about a way to kind of like distribute your book to maybe your ARC reader team. If you don't have one of those yet, that's fine too, but like distribute your book if you need to, that way for people to review if you ask. They also have a lot of behind the scenes advertising group things that they have, like a forum where someone will put together a thing saying, well, this week I'm going to run a vampire romance sale. Who all wants to join in? And you can
Mhm.
kind of send your link stuff in, and then there's a landing page, and all of you share that out to your platforms. That is especially good if you are building your platforms and you maybe don't have the kind of reach that you need to have, because you are moving together as a whole with other people who are building that platform.
Mhm.
I would be leery on cold emailing authors nonstop, because that's number one complaint I hear behind the scenes from authors are, this person and they want to do this and they're reaching out and they're hitting me on every platform, they're PMing. To that I say they're eager, and that's great. And we were all eager and great, at the end that was all, but also they're really busy, they're this and that. So just do the best you can, put a quality thing out there, and slowly know that it will slowly build.
Mhm.
it wasn't overnight for me. I definitely had slow sales my first few years. In fact, I tried to quit. I was like, this is not for me. I'm losing money. In my first 2 years, I thought, this isn't for
Mm.
me. And my husband looked at me and he said, I know that you feel like you should be going back into the workforce and not here, but I know there's something there. I think that at some point it will resonate with more readers. Just do
Mhm.
me a favor and stick it out a little longer. And I was like, I just don't know. I don't see it to this day. He's like, I'm always right. I told you so. I'm like, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Never live that one down.
right. Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about earlier about the fact that you publish under your actual name. Do you wish, going back, that you had published under a pseudonym?
I kind of do. Yeah. Now at this point, at this age, now that my children are at their age, I'm like, I don't care. but and I do have a couple pen names, but they're pen names that I kind of claimed up front after the fact and started after the fact because my backlist was just becoming enormous.
Uh-huh.
And I would have readers who would want to start reading me. They're like, I don't know where to start. What do you do? You do everything. You write, sci-fi romance, you write fantasy romance. I'm like, yes, I do. It all. So I decided to kind of take a lot of that futuristic romance and put it under the name Rag and Hawk. And then I'm like, well, let me take the contemporaries that I can't give away and I'll put them under Kennedy COVID. That's such a sore subject for me. It's my favorite thing to write. And you know what?
Oh,
It would probably help if I marketed it. I'm just going to say.
just
but
not marketing it, huh?
Right. So I kind of did the divide and put out, and then I'm very open and I have those links to my website. Now, if you don't want to be open about it, that's fine too. If you've
Uh-huh.
got a reason that you don't want someone to know that, there's no shame in that.
Mhm.
And you do you. So,
Right. Right. All right. We are at time. Oh my goodness, we're at time.
oh,
That just
sorry.
flew by. Well, thank you so much. It was such an enjoyable
Thank
morning.
you.
I appreciate all the amazing advice that you shared. Marketing and just marketing tips is always the first thing that we get questions about. So I appreciate that you shared your wealth of knowledge.
Thank you. Hopefully it was helpful and sorry for rambling. So, thank you.
Not at all. All right. And for those of you who have joined us, just a reminder that the video will be posted on our YouTube channel, hopefully tonight. If not, you'll get an email tomorrow with the link to the YouTube recording. And as always, happy publishing, everyone.